So AI isn't coming, guys. It's already here. And it's changing how we police our streets, protect our communities, and look at justice. We're doing our best to program the future of safety. We want to make sure that it's fair and it's accountable. So EJ, I'd really like to ask if you could give us just a basic definition of machine learning.
With machine learning, it's typically taking a large amount of aggregated data, organized data, and feeding it through models and algorithms to go through and produce something that you can later use to analyze similar data.
So, what you're saying, right, is that we're essentially feeding this algorithm data and we're letting it learn from that data. And so it's then able to kind of analyze stuff and give us feedback without us having to code each individual function, right?
Yeah,
we
you
don't
still
really have to-
gotta you still gotta code like individual functions, but you can basically use a large amount of data en masse to make a distilled output that's reusable and for evaluating future pieces of data that you haven't seen before.
That way you can go yes or no, this is the same or
Okay, so
similar.
I see what you're saying. You feed it data and you let it learn from that data so that it's able to make a prediction or a guess about the new data it hasn't seen.
Yep.
Okay, and so when you're talking about things like that with like video, Chris, how does that impact what we're able to do with video?
So when you start understanding what you're actually seeing in the video, as far as like objects are concerned, as far as actions and things like that. What's up, Otto? You can do a lot of pulling out of that data. The other things like in security and surveillance type situations, you'd be able to notice fringe transactions quicker. You'd be able to, things like you'd just be able to, have it understand what type of activity you're actually looking for. Right. And, with you feeding the video into it and us being able to go in and go, okay, this is just like any other person out there, this is what we think we saw and this is what it thinks we saw and move from there. With the, with things like that, what can the canines do to help us out? No name.
Okay, so our canines are using machine learning to not just gather data from the web and do a good job at targeting what data they're gathering, but they're analyzing that data based on data that they've seen before. They're using some of these machine learning algorithms to then analyze new data and do things like link it to a specific department or officer, or maybe make a summary or pick out keywords or unidentified officers that we don't have in the system. They're up to a lot of tricks with this machine learning stuff. So there are significant challenges though when it comes to things like privacy and what kind of data we're collecting. Like, we're pretty into making sure that we're only collecting the stuff that we want to, make sure that it's a complete picture, but we don't want to do anything to put out any information on these officers of a personal nature. So we're really picky about going through this stuff, right, Chris? EJ?
Yeah, because I don't give a shit where the officer lives. He needs to go home and go to sleep, right? I don't care who his wife is. What I care about is what he's doing on his 8 to 5, right?
Right, that's very important.
You know,
where
it
he
it is.
goes to church or where he where he lives, like that. We don't care about that, right, EJ? Like it's just what he does in his work life,
Correct. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah,
right?
straightforward.
And
You
so
know,
the machine learning,
the only way that his personal life will come into it is if he let his work life and his personal life collide. And there's nothing I can do about that at that point. He or she made a public imbecile of themselves.
so you're saying essentially that, like, okay, does that bring like nepotism to mind? Like when they're also making their personal life their business life, like when you have officers who are married
Look,
or brothers or cousins, like are we going to be able to kind of more accurately show that with the police record in this data science?
I think there's an opportunity for it to rear its ugly head, if you will.
To manifest itself
Um, well, you
when
know,
we
I
look
mean,
at the data?
the way that the linking is happening in between the intersections of the data points, um, I don't think it'll be easy not to see it, right? You would have to. I would truly believe that it should stick out like a sore thumb. It should just stick out. I mean,
Yeah,
like an
so
officer that's making the news all the time, right? I mean,
right,
Is
it's
he
just
making the
gonna
news for a good
show.
reason or for a bad reason?
And that's
both.
something that machine learning
Yeah.
is going to help us figure out. So, EJ, looking ahead, how else do you see machine learning evolving in our particular field, Like we're already doing some groundbreaking stuff. You guys are there on the ground floor of this stuff. Like you guys are helping build it. The big stuff that we're doing. But how else do you see machine learning evolving in our field?
As of right now, there really isn't much due to us already being at the forefront of the technology that's available. We're mainly currently, I guess, waiting for something other than generative text-based AI, because right now everything's text, everything's about LLMs and things like that,
There
and
are some good,
text-based.
yeah, but there are some good video and image processing software out there that we're working with, and we can't leave that out because it does help bring together some of the actual pictures into the big picture.
I'm waiting to see where the research and development fields go with the tooling around it and making holistic systems that can use multiple forms of input. Currently, they're using it with robotics,
right?
But that really hasn't come into batch data analytics that much yet. Still some time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the way we're going to be able to use what we've been building to expand like the pipeline that we've built, because it's so extensible, right? The way we've built it, like we can just plug another piece on to analyze this new type of data in this new way. And we have an easy way to build the data set and annotate all of the data we need, and then train and test this model and deploy it into our pipeline. So what do you think that says about our ability to deploy and train these new train and deploy these new models as they become available or we create them?
For us, it won't be any major issue other than time and money.
Right.
And as we come across new type of reports or pieces of data or context we need to know about or anything else, we can start adding that to the system to be analyzed and generated for us.
Right. And speaking of data that we come across, right, and that we need to analyze, Chris, so me and you were talking the other night, you remember, about how we're gonna each throw a little bit of cash at this thing. Do we want to throw our Cash App out here and make this like the first part of our online drive to maybe get some more of that capital? Because guys, these K9s that we told you about earlier, they are rocking like hardcore. Like they do some crazy stuff with all of this system working right now. We just got a little bit of cash we need to collect. We're each going to throw in some of our own But then we're going to be able to do searches on every department in our database. And guys, there are a lot of them. EJ, what was that count that Google indexed?
40, 50,000,
Yeah, somewhere in the
somewhere
neighborhood of
up
40 to
there.
50,000. And we're going to
And
have
you guys
data
have already,
on all of them when we're done.
yeah, not only that, but they've already found, we've already found ones that we didn't have through the viewers and through just the canines returning shit. So
Mhm.
it's quite interesting to see, how,
Quickly this data grows.
yeah, well, it's not even so much the quickness of the data, but just a little bit of effort on the front side of this thing makes the data so much cleaner coming in, right? It's it's a different, unique thing, right? And not only that, but I can remember doing large scrapes of databases and stuff for conversions and things like that, and the insight that we would have been able to gain just to run it through what we have built now would have been immensely helpful in some of these conversions. So just to analyze it and go, okay, we should have made these databases better because, right, not spend 60 hours just looking at table names,
Right.
So
I have to say, it's been a joy working with this new type of database that EJ introduced me to. I really appreciate it. EJ, do you want to talk a little bit about how the graph has accelerated our ability to do the data science and machine learning?
Yeah, so with typical databases, let's talk about table-based, column-based. We're pretty defined in terms of what we enter, what the properties are, the relationships. And to add more data over time as we come across things, will be a very large overhead because you have to run migrations. And those migrations take time. You have to review them, you have to check them, you have to run them at least twice. In development, production, and maybe any other place.
Right.
With the graph database, we can grow it over time, define our schema, and extend it. As we find new data, we can make new nodes, add properties, remove properties. We found that we have something screwed up, or we need to make mass adjustments. We can run a script to touch all the nodes, properties, or relationships, and get it all in line for
and correct the data to the new schema. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's given us the ability to integrate so many different parts of this many faceted application into one single source of truth, which, if anybody watching knows anything about programming, having a single source of truth is very important. And this has really helped nail that down. So, Chris, what do you think it means to have a single source of truth when it comes to police and what they're doing in our neighborhoods?
So, to me, it's the single source of truth, right? When I understand the concept behind it, right? But when you're having to deal with human emotion and human feelings and humans, right, there's a whole multitude of what they consider to be sources of truth, right? So, when we select ours, right, and build ours, it's an amazing thing, because we know what type of data that we expect, right? As far as, I don't care that he was in his pickup truck and was fishing down by the river yesterday on his day off. I care that he helped an old lady across the street while he was wearing the badge. I care that he stopped one of his fellow clown members, right? I care about those things, right? And for us to be a single source of truth, it's a big undertaking.
Right, but it's an important undertaking. Like, it is important that people be able to look somewhere and see what's actually going on, because we all know that a lot of these cops out there are genuine heroes, right?
Sure.
But we also know that there are some of them that are not, right? And it's hard to know the difference when you don't know who they are behind the badge. And I just think that it's important for us to have somewhere to look, and currently there is nowhere, and I just think that it's important for us to keep working to build it, and I do appreciate both your guys' effort in this.
And I mean, the thing to me is that I think that with machine learning, with China doing their thing, Russia doing their thing, we're doing our thing, UK's fixing to be doing their thing, with all this craziness going on, right? The least thing we can do in our own backyard is treat each other like humans, right? And if not, have a system to document it, right?
So over
And
time, as this thing grows, it's gonna help us with that, right?
we're gonna have to see how it turns out, right? The build and the want is to help, right? This is a huge undertaking as far as social impact is concerned, right? So we're going to build it with the best intentions and hope it sprouts the roots of truth and things like that, and move forward from there, right? But with so much data and with so much at stake here, I don't know, to tell you the truth. I want it to be for good.
You just don't know if we can make a difference.
Oh, I know we can make a difference, right? But the ramifications of the difference.
So what are these ethical concerns associated with machine learning used in law enforcement? Are you talking about bias, or are you talking about the issue of privacy, or the issue of transparency? Like, are we wanting to make sure that the public understands how these things work and how they're implemented? Or are we worried about, where are we going here?
Well, see, I've always said it, right? You're either being controlled by them or you're controlling them, right? And them being the computers, right? So if you're not writing code for it or don't understand how the code is, that puts you at a serious disadvantage to understanding how systems can work, right? And when you talk about ethics in large language models and things like that, right? I mean, you can see where people have, lawyers included, have used GPT to generate, hogwash in a sense, right?
And I've seen some of the other things that ChatGPT can do. We've all played with it.
Oh,
AI
yeah, no.
isn't coming. It's here, guys. Like, everybody's played with it. Like, it does some pretty bad stuff. And you're right, Chris. Like, we have to be careful.
You have to understand what kind of tool you're using, right? I mean, it's like going out and taking a dull chainsaw and going and trying to cut a hardwood tree down. It's not going to work out too good for you.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you're going to be lucky if you just stick the saw in there and it doesn't kick back on you, right? So, I mean, these things, you look at, just like the video coming in, right? I look at being able to analyze video in real time, to be able to tell somebody with either voice or some kind of interference device to let them know that things are coming towards them, right? That might not be able to see them that well, right? Things like that.
We've talked about some other uses that we have specifically for the technology stack that we've built.
Yeah, I mean,
like the one project that's already kind of got in works.
Yeah. But
I'd really.
I want to talk a little bit more about those ethics, right?
Okay,
We're
so
not sending armed gunmen based on our data,
no.
right? When you're doing something that can severely impact life, right? Liberty or the pursuit of freedom or
Like
happiness
the
for that
police.
matter. Yeah, you know, you can't just go trusting these technologies for the gospel, right? You have to actually like research what you found and show it, show that you go and look it up.
Yes,
Make
that's
sure
why it's
it's
going to
not
be
fucking
so.
clean.
Yeah, make sure it's
That's what
good
kills
data.
me
That's
about.
why these reports are going to be, I think, so powerful for everybody, is because they're going to gather all of the sources of these data. And it's going to show you not just the data, not just the information that it found, but where it found it. So you can go and look and make sure that you have got like data that you can rely on. It's not just a service that is putting data at your fingertips. It's a service that's trying to shortcut the research. We're trying to put the data and its sources at your fingertips. Like, this is where the data came from. This is the video or the document or the website or whatever. Here's where we found it. You know what I'm saying? Please check for your, like, I think that's going to be a powerful thing for our users.
Hmm.
And I can't wait to see when we click off that search every department in our database. Because what'd you say the internet usage was this month, EJ?
Oh, terabytes, 20,
Like
20
20
terabytes.
terabytes,
Yeah.
guys, and we're just starting. Like, I know we've been around for a minute, so we're not like at the very, very beginning, guys, but we don't have a huge user base, and we're spitting out that kind of data a month.
Hmm.
I do appreciate everybody who has gone over to the police record and signed up. But if you haven't yet, now's your chance. If you don't go, you're missing out for real. This isn't about creating one of those fears of missing out. You're literally missing out on like a whole new use of technology and the stuff that has been developing around us and has been used by the police to collect data about us. It's just kind of being turned the other way now, guys. So,
I mean,
Chris, do you see analyzing more than just like the officer in the scene? Do you see us using like license plates to track the police cars on scene, just the police units, so we know like which unit responded to which scene from a video?
yeah, I mean, we should be able to pick out multiple different types of objects, right?
Right.
During our analytics, right?
Signs in
Vehicles.
particular are very helpful.
A lot of people when they're swinging around, it's not that they know to stop at the signs, but the video is clear enough as they're panning through it that you can see it with the computer that you can't see it with the naked eye, where you got to go back and play it in slow-mo.
Yeah,
Right.
you're watching so many frames instead of just a video. Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it is that I don't personally have to sit and absorb the billions of man hours of video, right? I mean, 16 cameras alone is hard enough. 32 is fun.
There's no way we could do even with all of us working, even with everybody in this entire community working around the clock. There's no way that we could do this all by hand, guys. Like, there are just too many police, and there are just not enough of us with enough time to do this all by hand. And so that's why we've been building this machine learning platform, right, guys? That's why we've been developing this specific set of utilities to bring together all of the data we can about police to do deep dive analytics and data science on, so that we can build these machine learning models that'll let us dig through this data at a speed with that can only be done by machines, right? There's just no way that we could pay enough people to do this all day, right?
What up, Chuck? What up, Broken Fish? Oh, Boat Fishing, sorry. Joko, if I didn't say hi, Toe for Life, and Otto. What's up, everybody? We appreciate you all coming in.
We really do, guys. And for listening to us bullshit, we haven't been intentionally ignoring it. I just didn't have the chat on until now. I've seen them popping up over here, but I've been really interested in discussing this with these guys. So
yeah, I think that, you know, as this thing, you know, because there's a bubble in AI right now that just kind of, they ran up against the wall, right? There's only so many fucking graphics cards out there. There's only so much fucking power that we can generate. And there's only so much that they actually have control under one fucking roof, right? So, you know, there's got to be something different to solve this issue, right? And, you know, there's some very, very interesting people working on it, you know, that are looking for different ways of analyzing. You know, ours is a metric shit ton. I don't know how to measure theirs.
right.
You know,
I mean, I don't even know how to measure ours yet. We've only just begun. We've got a lot of data in this storage environment already, guys. But it's just getting bigger all the time now that we've got these canines up and running and doing their thing effectively.
stretching the old legs.
Right, they're up and running all around. We're just gonna get together a little bit more scratch, guys, and we'll be able to set them loose on every department in the database. 50,000 departments, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000. I don't want to say 50,000 for sure, but it is in itself a metric fuck ton, right? Like, that's a lot of cops, guys, and we're gonna start acquiring data about them. We're going to start acquiring data about them en masse. We've already been doing it kind of in a trickle fashion, guys, but we're tired of trickling. So we're just going to get it over with, and we're just going to do it for all of them and really feed these canines. We're going to make them nice and fat.
Sorry, I was responding to a text message.
No, you're fine. We all have text messages. So while the benefits of this could be significant, right? The challenges have also been pretty significant. So there's been not only like legal challenges, you know, things we had to do in our code simply to comply with laws. Some places where we're not really allowed to do things. But there's also been challenges in adoption. Like, if you guys have ever cop watched, you guys know that, you know, the average American is kind of a little bit more on the bootlicky side. I'm not trying to put anybody down, but like, most people have the tendency to side with authority, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if it's a personal choice, but they expect everybody to have that same respect for a perceived authority. And so there's been an adoption thing. Like, a lot of people look at it and they're like, I either get one or two responses when I tell somebody about it. Either they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Or they're like, why in the world would you do that? And so I just don't know how to, talk about like some of the other challenges.
Just let them know you're looking for the needle in the haystack.
Indeed.
For sure.
You know, I was told about glitter farting unicorns one time. And, oh, that's a hell of a story, dude. I got to get you in touch with the dude that told me about him. Right.
So I have a big question for the both of you guys. One other like real brain wrencher, guys, that I think is important for us to really kind of connect with the audience about, right?
Okay.
So So as this goes forward, right, and as our system becomes more and more powerful, right, and the tools of surveillance that have been used for, since the base of the internet are turned around and are started to be used on the police themselves. Like, how do you think we balance the issue of privacy as these surveillance capabilities expand? Like, it's crucial that, like, we're not hoarding any personal data of these officers, but we also have to take
No.
into account like strict security measures, right? So that our data is only accessible, to users, right? That we can trust, like our actual users. Like, we can't just give every bit of
Look,
this
check it.
information away to somebody who's not even going to log into the webpage, right?
Right, but I mean, here's the thing. As far as data is concerned and the ethical or non-ethical collection and usage of data, when they clean up the advertisement fucking industry for their way of doing advertisement on the internet, right? They don't really have any room to talk to us, right? Ads have been used to inject viruses, things like this, right? And you want to talk about surveillances and things of that nature. It gets.
So you're saying what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? They don't really have any room to talk.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to have a fucking. I don't want some fucking cop watching a goddamn ad so I can get his picture off his webcam. Right.
Me either.
Right. I want to see that motherfucker out doing his job. Right.
Right.
And a public
so we're not even
camera
doing half
catches.
of the dirty stuff that they're doing, is what you're saying. Like
Well,
we're not.
I mean, look,
we're collecting publicly available information. We're not spying.
Yeah, I don't have any. Like I said, I don't care that Barney Fife only gets one bullet. Right. I don't care where Barney Fife lives. What I do care is how Barney uses the fucking bullet. Right. I think that some of this extra waste that's happening, right? When the police budget is more than 40% of the fucking town's full budget, there's an issue.
Right? And it's not an issue with a whole lot of crime, really. I don't think in most cases. I think it's more of an issue with a whole lot of policing.
Right. Well, I mean, dude, there's such thing as the law enforcement growth industry. Okay. It's a real thing.
Growth.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real thing. My biggest deal is that I want to make sure that if we happen to have this cop in our database and he happens to be a great cop, right? I want somebody to be able to look at the app and go, hey,
that's a really good cop. Like, we should steal him from this department, bring him to our department.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And then we'll have fucking, you have these towns in Texas and shit where they just write ungodly amounts of fucking tickets. I mean, right? It's things like that. What's up, Condensed Reality? Right. I think that my thing is that nobody can search over all the records to see all of the craziness.
That would take too long anyway.
Well, the thing is that the current way of doing freedom of information requests and things like that is insane. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that every record that comes in should be, if they're going to sanitize it for public consumption, it should be sanitized and then made available, period.
So you guys know Muck Rock, right? We're kind of maybe looking at some of the data that they put up there. So when you submit a public records request through Muck Rock, they submit it for you. And then when it comes back, it's left publicly available with a link so that anybody can get on there and download it. So if you guys are submitting public records out there, you should really look into using Muckrock to submit them, because that makes them permanently publicly available for everyone, including the police record. And that's a very handy thing, a permanently available public record. So just check it out if you guys haven't. It's at Muckrock. You guys can search for it. Just type it in. It'll come right up. It's pretty badass. If you are into taking people's words for things, you can definitely take my word for this one.
What up, Johnny, brother?
Hey, Johnny.
So
hit me with it.
no, I like I said, with these, I want people to be able to have a place to come get information, right?
I do too, and like I think it's powerful that we've got like this pattern matching system, right? Like we're building this system that's able to look into this data, and when it sees a really good cop, right, one of those really amazing officers, that kind of helps it build that pattern that helps it distinguish other officers who are probably pretty amazing or maybe pretty good, or like there's a certain pattern of behavior that will begin to coalesce, and those patterns are powerful, right, when you're looking at that kind of amount of data.
Yeah, man, I think that it's I still believe that criminals don't give a fuck about the law.
They
right?
don't. That's why gun control laws, in my opinion, don't really make much sense, because the only people that are going to control guns for are law-abiding citizens, and those aren't the people you're really worried about, in my opinion. Just saying.
Right. And I mean, just go out and just Google search or YouTube search just a little bit. Just type cop watch. That's all you got to do is search it once and go watch some of the videos. It's insane.
You'll see. Yeah.
So
as machine learning drives, hit me with it.
Yeah, well, I hope that machine learning drives that, where there is more time spent in the fucking law library than there is in the goddamn gun range. Be proficient in both.
I don't think anything short of like a legislative mandate for these guys to have more of an education on the law, because right now essentially they're in a position, thanks to some decisions by a questionable judicial branch, that have granted them immunity from the law if they claim ignorance. And it's set up or so structured or so abused by the lawyers and ruled on by these judges that if there's not a case that's really, really, really similar to it, they're probably going to get away with whatever it is they're doing. You guys have all heard of qualified immunity. So, like, unless we have some kind of legislative or judicial change to get rid of that, they're not going to have to spend more time in the law library, because they're not going to ever have to know the law, because ignorance is an excuse for them. If we can use this app to make them have to know the law by making them uninsurable if they don't, that would be amazing. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I'm just agreeing with you. That would be a bitch.
That would be that would be amazing, guys. That would be like, the point where you, like, I think they call it like the champagne moment, when you pop the champagne, you're like, my company has made it, right? Like, it has done what it came here to do. If we could get the insurance companies on board, and we could get the insurance companies to mandate the police use this and to make them uninsurable if they don't know the law, and if they're out there violating the law and violating people's civil rights all the time, and we can consistently show it with hard data and make them uninsurable and get rid of the bad ones, that would be the champagne moment for me. I'd pop the cork, I'd pass it around to you guys, even though I hate champagne, and I would gladly drink that, knowing that we had done what we set out to do, or in my opinion.
I'd pour it out for the homies, but yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I don't really drink.
I do that like bubbly champagne shit every time, man, and it kind of goes like water straight through. So
I might have an
pass me
energy
some
drink.
apple cider or something like that. We'll do good.
Right. Right. So guys, as we get ready to wrap this up, I just want to say thanks again to everybody who stopped by and for putting up with us just yapping. If you guys have followed along, you guys know that a lot of it wasn't just empty talk. It was a serious discussion of how what we're building is gonna change things in our society. Like, at least we hope. We don't know exactly what the effects are going to be, but we do expect them to be big, just because of the amount of data we're dragging in and what we're finally going to be able to do with it. So I appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate Chris and EJ taking 45 minutes out of their Friday night to spend with me and you guys. So that's it, guys. I'm about to let them guys say goodnight. And we'll
Don't
be back
let him
at you
lie.
next week.
He's holding me here by gunpoint.
I can't own a gun, right? Like, as little as I like obeying the law, it's not really my favorite thing. I do that shit anyway now, all of the time, because the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Like, you gotta be careful when you have, too many felonies to stuff in the trunk of a mid-sized sedan, because they like to use those to enhance things. So you gotta watch your P's and your Q's, and you gotta dot your I's and your lowercase J's, right? And you have to put those little slashes through your 7s and your Z's so they don't get mistaken, because they're gonna get you if you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I wanted to round it out with appreciate everybody spending time with us. Same to you guys. I mean, it's always good to have the conversation. I think that there should be more nerd, right? And I think that the bar of entry should be a lot lower.
I agree.
Yep. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I don't have anything extra to say.
The man of the words. Well,
Yep.
check this out, guys. I'm going to hit the end stream button. It's just going to go straight to black. We're going to just, right